Good morning. Today is Friday, December 18th, 2020. And our ICAM for today says, I can explain the quadrilateral hierarchy. I'm going to start by explaining what a hierarchy is in general. A hierarchy is kind of an explanation of power and who has the most power and who has the least power and who has to listen to who. So we're going to set up a hierarchy in our notebook for school, and this will help us understand what hierarchy means. So I'm going to start with a student, and I'm going to put you down here, right about here. Here you are. When a student goes to school, who do they have to listen to? A student has to listen to their teachers, right? But when a student is at home, who does a student have to listen to? Their family. And if you notice, teachers and family are on the same level because teachers work with your family to find out how we can serve you best, and family work with the teachers to help see how we can educate you best. So we're on the same level. But who do teachers have to listen to at school? Administration. That's like Miss Villarubia, Miss Harper, right? Let's put Miss Villarubia right here. Miss Villarubia works with Miss Harper. They're on the same level. So that's why they're on the same line. But they're both above teachers, not really above family. Your family doesn't have to listen to them, but the teachers do because they're higher on the hierarchy. Now, who is Miss Villarubia's boss? The superintendent. So Miss Villarubia has to listen to the superintendent. If the superintendent says everybody's doing remote school, Miss Villarubia has to listen. If the superintendent says everybody's doing in-person school, Miss Villarubia has to listen, which means I have to listen because I'm under Miss Villarubia, which means you have to listen because you're under me, right? So this is a hierarchy. Now, who is the superintendent's boss? The school board. And the school board are made up of people that we elect. We choose the school board. So we choose these people. They choose the superintendent. The superintendent chooses her principals or her administration team and vice principals. The administration team chooses their teachers, and we work with you guys and your family. This is an example of the hierarchy. Now, here I am on my hierarchy. Here I am. I'm a teacher. If I came to school and said, Miss Villarubia, I've decided the kids don't have to go to school on Fridays. Does she have to listen to me? Does she have to do what I say? No, because I'm below her on the hierarchy. But if Miss Villarubia came to school and said, Miss Kirsten, you have to teach the kids how to add triangles plus squares. Well, I would have to figure out how to do that because Miss Villarubia is above me on the hierarchy, so I have to listen to the people that are above me on my hierarchy. If the superintendent came to Miss Villarubia and said, Miss Villarubia, you have to make sure that these kids are learning their math facts, then Miss Villarubia has to do it. But if Miss Villarubia went to the superintendent and said, I've decided that all of the kids should have free ice cream on Fridays, does the superintendent have to listen to Miss Villarubia? No. This is an example of a hierarchy. All right, so let's figure out what this has to do with math. We are going to make a quadrilateral hierarchy today because quadrilaterals also have to follow rules just like that. So I'm going to start by writing the word quadrilateral. And every time I see the word quadrilateral, I know that this means it's a four-sided shape. A quad, this prefix, quad, means four. For our athletes out there, you have to work out your quads so that you have very strong legs. Your quads are made up of four muscles. A quadrilateral is a four-sided shape. So we're only talking about shapes that have four sides today. That's it. My four-sided shapes can be split into three categories. I'm going to make my first category all the way over here in my margin. These are shapes that have no parallel. There aren't too many of them, and I can fit them in this margin area. And I want your work to be nice and organized, so please do this with us. We're going to do 0 parallel lines over here in the margin. Now, sometimes we get a shape that has one set of parallel lines. That one's going to be right in this area. But the most common, and this one's going to have the most examples, will be 2 sets of parallel lines. So when we have a quadrilateral, we break them into branches. I like to think about this branch and this branch and this branch, and all of our branches belong to quadrilaterals. But if they're under this branch, they don't belong in this category, right? Each of these gets its own branch. So my first example of a quadrilateral that has no parallel lines is a kite. I started by making what looked like it was going to be a triangle or a tent. And now look, I'm going to go down 1, 2, I'm going to go down 3 and make a point. It looks like a kite, doesn't it? You can imagine its tail being right here and blowing in the wind. Okay, there's my kite. A kite has no parallel lines, but it does have 4 sides. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 sides, but let's do the parallel line test and see. I'm going to cover up one of my line segments and I'm going to try all of the rest. But every one that I try touches my colored pencil. That's how I know there are no parallel lines. The other shape, and this is a more unusual shape that lots of people actually haven't heard of, but it is a real shape. I'm going to make a large triangle. And then I'm going to put a dot right in the middle. Now I'm going to connect from the bottom of one side and then the bottom of the other side to the same dot. This shape is called a chevron. And a chevron is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. But no parallel sides. Look, if I do my test, here's my pencil. Not that one, not that one, not that one. It has no parallel lines. Still a quadrilateral. All right, so this is one branch. Now I'm going to move over to the next branch. All of these shapes are going to be quadrilaterals that have one set of parallel lines. The first shape that I have is called a trapezoid, and more specifically, we're going to make a right trapezoid. So I'm going to start with what looks like it's about to be a square and make a long slanty line. This shape is called a trapezoid. A trapezoid has one set of parallel lines. Here they are. See how those lines would never touch each other? So I know the top is parallel to the bottom. This shape is called a right trapezoid. We call it a right trapezoid because it has right angles. Here's a right angle, and there's a right angle. Right angles measure exactly 90 degrees. So sure, this is one kind of trapezoid that has one set of parallel lines. And where are the parallel lines? On the top and on the bottom. They would never touch each other. Parallel lines never meet. All right, our next type of trapezoid is called an isosceles trapezoid. And now that we're so good with the word isosceles, think 2 eyes. You have 2 eyes, 2 sides. 2 eyes, 2 sides. This trapezoid has to have 2 equal sides. So I'm going to set up a top and a bottom. And I'm going to tell you that this side over here equals this side over here. They're equal to each other. This is how we know it's an isosceles trapezoid, because it has two equal sides. Isosceles trapezoid. The other important thing to know about an isosceles trapezoid is it has one set of parallel sides. Are these parallel? No, because my pencils are touching each other. Are these parallel? Yes, because my pencils are not touching each other, and they would never touch each other. Parallel lines never meet. So we have the top and the bottom, and those are parallel to each other. Next, so this is one branch. These all have no parallel lines. This is our second branch. We have one set of parallel lines. Lastly, over here, we're going to have two sets of parallel lines. This is the one where we need to do our most focusing. We're going to need to remember this area over here. Now, I'm going to start by drawing a shape called a parallelogram. And to draw a parallelogram, I'm going to draw a slanty line and a slanty line, and I'm going to connect the top and the bottom. This shape is called a parallelogram. So I'm going to write the word parallel, O-gram. It's a parallelogram. And a parallelogram has two sets of parallel lines. Let's do the pencil test. Are these parallel? Yes. Are these parallel? Yes, my parallel lines will never meet. So I know this has two sets of parallel lines. Well, let's talk about a parallelogram. What if I cut it in half? Does that make a line of symmetry? No, because look, this one over here would be way over there when I folded it. So a parallelogram has 0 lines of symmetry. All right, but parallelograms are higher on our hierarchy than everything else. So now we're going to split into two groups. We have some shapes that are going to go over here and some shapes that are going to come over here. This is where our hierarchy really kicks in. We're going to make a rectangle. I should have used my handy dandy straight edge, huh? This is my rectangle. I'll remember for next time. Now I'm going to take my rectangle and I need to figure out how many sets of parallel lines would this have? Well, it's under the same branch, so it has two sets of parallel sides. The top and the bottom are parallel, and both sides are parallel. So a rectangle has two sets of parallel lines. What else does it have? What do we know about these corners? Good. We have 4 equal angles. They're all equal to 90 degrees, right? They're all perpendicular. They make perpendicular sides. One other special thing that we know about parallelograms is that the opposite sides, what do we know about opposite sides? Those two sides are what? And these two sides are what? Opposite sides are equal. All right, looking good. Next to the rectangle, we're going to put a shape called a rhombus. Now a rhombus, it looks like a square that is swaying to the beat. So it really is just like a dancing square. The shape is called a rhombus. A rectangle has 4 equal angles, but a rhombus has 4 equal sides. And we can't even say opposite sides are equal because now all of the sides are equal. A rhombus has 2 lines of symmetry. Both of the diagonals are its lines of symmetry. There are no straight lines of symmetry on a rhombus. Just like on a rectangle, there are also 2 lines of symmetry. Now our last shape for our hierarchy, and I have just enough room to fit it down here, is a square. This is you guys. You guys are the squares. A square has to listen to everybody above it, right? So a square has opposite sides that are equal. A square has 4 equal angles. A square is a rectangle. A square is a parallelogram, and a square has 2 sets of parallel lines. A square is also a quadrilateral. Let's follow the other side. A square has 4 equal sides. A square is a rhombus. A square is a parallelogram. A square has 2 sets of parallel lines, and a square is a quadrilateral. So think about the square as the students, and students have to listen to their teachers, and they have to listen to their principal, and they have to listen to everybody, right? A square has to listen to rectangle. So a square is a rectangle. But think about this. Do teachers have to listen to students? So if the students come to class and they say, we would like to only eat Jell-O and nothing else, do teachers have to listen? No, but students have to listen to their teachers. So that's how I want you to remember it. A rectangle is not a square. A rectangle doesn't have to listen to square, but a square has to listen to a rectangle. So a square is a rectangle. A square is a rhombus. This is a tricky question. We'll keep working on this for a couple of days, but use this hierarchy, use your notebook to do your work today. Have a good day.